Welcome to a new episode of Voices from Turkey. Today I'm joined by Professor Cengiz Aktar, political scientist and professor in the University of Athens and Yerevan and author of the Turkish Malaise. Thank you, Professor, for being with us today.
Cesare Taddei, grazie. Thank you. It's good to be with you, and I hope we will have a fruitful discussion.
Yes, teşekkürler. In his book, Professor Aktar offers a sharp analysis of Turkey's deep-rooted crisis, a country torn between European ambitions and an authoritarian drift, a country trapped by a denied past and unable to build an inclusive democracy, a malaise that runs through both institutions and national identity. Professor Aktar, the issues of Turkey's European Union joining has long been a topic of heated debate. What do you think about? What do you think Europe continues to reject what you have described in your essay as the other of Europe? Is it really just about democratic values, or does a deep cultural prejudice play a role?
You know, Europe, the Christian Europe, and particularly the Catholic Europe, actually, had two others with a capital O. The first one dates back, it's 2,000 years old. It's the Jew.
Okay.
The Jew is the first other of Catholic Europe. Mm-hmm. And the second one later on is the Ottoman, which represents the Muslim. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So these two figures of the other has evolved, of course, over time. But the Jew actually transformed itself to become kind of European now with what is happening in Gaza.
Yes.
The Israeli army and Israeli officials and Israeli society now are telling the entire world that they are defending the values of Europe. And Europeans are very happy with that. Okay. Because it's against Islam and Arab countries. So they have done their transformation, and the transformation is accepted. I mean, it is of course, it's a trick. It is, it's not genuine. I mean, Catholic Europe still hates, the Jew because, deep inside, the Jew is considered as the killer of Jesus. So,
okay, I got you.
So they have accomplished their transformation. Whatever this transformation is completely fake.
Yes.
But as for the Turk, Ottoman first and then Turk afterwards, it's still there. I mean, it is still there. I mean, of course, the Ottoman Empire is no more, but the image of present-day Turk is still in Europe as a whole, and particularly in Western Europe. The figure of the Turk is the other, a personality, a person, something which is different than the mainstream European. And that is the acceptance of Turkey as a potential candidate to become an EU member state, has been completely poisoned, has been completely determined, has been completely shaped and steered with this deep enmity against the image of the Ottoman, the Turk, and representing Islam, but together with Islam, also the Arab world, although Turks are no Arab. So this is the root cause of the issue. We can talk about the details of it, but this is where, unfortunately, the candidacy of Turkey to the European Union has come across and has been stopped with the Europe.
You said in your essay that in a certain moment in 2004 became when Turkey was really near to his joining of European Union. The president of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, started a kind of crusade against Turkey with other kind of Democristians parties like from Belgium, Denmark, Germany, in the old north of Europe against the access of Turkey in European Union, playing with a lot of different stereotypes and cliches between Europe and Turkey. In the past, said that it was like a kind of elite of Armenians pushed the politics in France to be against Turkey. Instead, Turkey was not recognized the Armenian genocide.
I mean, yes, but no, I don't think we can say that the Armenian community in France has had that much of impact, to put pressure on the Sarkozy government and when he was president. I don't think so. I mean, he himself, he didn't need to be convinced of this fact. He was, deeply against the membership of Turkey, and although from his mother's side, he was originating from the Ottoman Empire, from Thessaloniki in Greece. Mm-hmm. These are Jews of Thessaloniki. They converted to Catholicism when the mother married, a Hungarian man, his father. And no, I don't think that the Armenian issue or the Armenian genocide had something to do with that. Sarkozy was the powerful representative of the opposition against Turkey's membership in France. Against actually Pacta sunt servanda. France is one of the countries who have accepted the principle of Turkey's membership way back to 1963. So they have rejected their signature by opposing the membership process, and that had devastating effects, of course, on the outcome of this membership.
In your view, has Turkey ever wanted sincerely to become part of European Union, or has it always been more of a kind of strategic or symbolic objective?
Judging by the way the Turkish authorities and the governments, behaved after 2005, when the negotiations have started, concretely, one can say that yes, they were not very interested, frankly, to become one day an EU member. But they were also changing themselves. I'm talking about political Islam, who is running Turkey since 2002. In the beginning, they may have had, a very utilitarian approach to the EU membership, but in the meantime, over years, they have convinced themselves about the usefulness of the EU membership, in terms of economy, in terms of, world politics, in terms of transformation of the society towards more democracy, etc. So, but, we can not say yes or no to your question. It's very good. It's complex. But unfortunately, the end result is to today that both parties, the Europeans on the one hand and and the Turks,
Yes.
including the opposition, have given up on the membership of Turkey, and this is a mistake, and this is a missed rendezvous. Actually, I mean, Turkey, which would be an EU member, would have changed. We would have transformed tremendously the European Union and the way the European Union authorities and member states are looking at at their neighborhood, and particularly the Arab and Muslim neighborhood. I mean, imagine a Muslim country, although secular, but I mean,
Yes, with a majority of Muslims.
Imagine an 85 million Turks being member of the European Union. I mean, the EU couldn't act the way it's acting today vis-a-vis, for instance, the Gaza genocide.
But it could be changed totally the balance of also the politics of the European Union, because we are organized as more people you have in your country, more delegates you have in the European Parliament. So if you imagine,
this is not really true, Cesare. I mean, the limit, the populous countries can have. I mean, even if they reach 200 million in population, they cannot have more than 94 member of the European Parliament. So that's not. And then the members of the European Parliament, they don't vote in bloc.
Yes.
As nations. I mean, they belong to the they are leftist, rightist, extreme rightist, etc. They vote according to their group. No, I'm not saying this. I'm talking about the weight and the positive effect. Take the Commission, for instance. I mean, von der Leyen, who is acting like completely Arabophobic, Islamophobic president of the European Commission, and she says nothing about what is going on in Gaza, about the genocide.
Narrative about in particular from French and German politics. They said many oftentimes say, no, we are afraid that a big country with so much population, with now even not as in the past, but with a young population middle, could become a European member because they could influence the politics. It's that they are afraid that maybe Turkey could become can change the balance of their power. Maybe they are afraid that, okay, if this kind of partner, very aggressive, could be getting, it could be a menace for our balance.
I mean, you cannot develop a positive approach to problems through fear. Politicians, particularly in France, but not only, among these Christian Democrats of Western Europe, they were, and they are still, by the way, today,
yes,
they are playing with the fear, and they are, and they are really doing a very, very nocive and dangerous job. And this is why the far right is rising, because they are, they are fueling, putting, oil on the fire, and the people are afraid of foreigners, and no government is ready to tell the citizens that Europe needs immigration. Without immigration, Europe won't survive. Because of the social security schemes, they cannot function without immigration. No one wants to tell the truth to the voters. And to the contrary, they are acting and talking against the migrants, against immigration, etc. I mean, this is, frankly, I mean, it's, we are all talking about Trump. But the European politicians are no better, they are also...
I want to speak about, just for a moment, about the meeting between Giorgia Meloni and Erdogan. I'm referring, for example, to the fourth Italy-Turkey Intergovernmental Summit on April 29. During this meeting, 11 cooperation agreements were signed, with particular emphasis on defense, like drones, like Kizilelma, or trade sectors. So, for years, European Union has harshly criticized Turkey's authoritarian, and I'm speaking, for example, as an Italian, again about Mario Draghi, that said that Erdogan was a dictator some years ago. So, even European Union has harshly criticized Turkey authoritarian drift, citing the repression of the dissent, media censorship, and the weakening of the judiciary. But yet Ankara remains a key economic and strategic partner. How do you explain this? It's purely pragmatism, as in Italy they're speaking about, or also a former kind of hypocrisy?
I mean, times have changed. I mean, as we say in German, Zeitgeist, the spirit of the time is
Yes.
that we are the Europe, and the Europeans don't have their ethical, moral compass anymore. They are not
Yes.
advocating for democracy anymore, nowhere in the world. And they have lost this, they have lost this moral or ethical superiority that they had since Rinascimento. Europeans and the West in general won't have any leverage and any interest, actually, to tell the rest of the world to act according to democratic rules respecting the human rights. This is finished. So therefore, it is you can qualify it cynicism, but now everybody is anything goes. Anything goes, and the most important aspect of the collaboration and cooperation between states is, as you said, it's economic and military or strategic, full stop. The rest is not of interest, and I think Giorgia Meloni, actually, she rushed in this 11 joint projects, but all the other Europeans are capable of doing exactly the same. Don't worry.
Yes.
Now, I will give you some details about this new cooperation that is shaping now with Turkey. And, there will be, whether we like it or not, and you are, as much as I do, there will certainly be a new European army.
Yes, we're discussing. On the certainly, I'm not exactly sure, but
there's no other way. There is no other way. If there is no European army, there won't be any Europe. So it's a must. It is not it is not a contingency. I would like to quote one famous Italian, De Gasperi. De Gasperi said way back in 1950s, Europe is not a utopia, it's a necessity.
Yes.
Europe is a necessity.
There is just today, a little point that I'm not agree with you, Professor, because before to build the European army, it's first to build Europe. So because if you wanted to be, if you are a soldier, you have to accept a kind of law that you have to die for this country. I would like to know if Poland could die for Italy, or for Italian could die for a Lithuanian, or for a French. And it's really hard for me to understand if we are in the right direction, because we don't have a country. We can make it like a kind of shield, because there exists already now the Eurocorps. It's like a kind of it's a unit that they just make like a kind of parade.
Nothing.
And they want to growing up about this, but
much more complicated than that. Europe, this is not an offensive army we are talking. It's a defensive army. The new European security and defense structure without the United States, not immediately,
yes,
but slowly. Slowly we are getting there. Europe needs a common understanding about its, defense and security. It's not a matter of, nation states. It goes for the future and for the safety of the continent as a whole in front of the Russian threat, because the Russian threat won't go. Russia, run by Vladimir Putin, is a genuine threat for the decades to come, because it's a country which is based on, and which, internally speaking, on security since the Chechen War. The Russians can sell and can, market only security, and security needs threats. So they are inventing new threats all the time, and they will continue to invent. After Ukraine, it will be the Baltics, it will be Poland, etc. So Europe has to pull its act together, whether it likes it or not. I mean, it's a matter of survival. So we will get there. I can assure you. Otherwise, there won't be any Europe. And there, and the role of Turkey comes in the picture exactly there. And
like a balance,
no, it's no more than that. In the beginning, when after the 20th of January, when Trump took over, and he immediately said, I'm not interested in your defense anymore to Europeans. So Europeans, as you know, started to act very swiftly, by the way, French and the Brits, etc. The first meeting, the unique meeting where the Turks were not invited, was the first meeting. The second meeting, Turks were there. Who is behind this? Is the Brits. So Brits convinced the other Europeans that Turks, these things, and in terms of, global firepower, Turkey is the 9th army of the world.
Yes.
Italy is the 10th army of the world. Britain is the 6th army of the world, and France is the 7th army. So these four countries, together with Poland and Ukraine, they will create the backbone of the new European security and defense architecture. And this is exactly why Signora Meloni, was in Ankara, and you mentioned these, military deals.
Yes.
And I understand Baykar has even bought an Italian company, arms companies. So this is so within this framework, Cesare, there is no more human rights. There is no more talk about democracy. There is no more talk about the jails.
My blackout is this. We are like a shield against Russia because Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Okay, so we say that there's a dictator, Putin is a criminal, but in Turkey, there is a problem deeply with democracy and with the free speech. But with them, don't make no opposition. With the arrest of Imamoglu in the middle of part of March, in the 19th of March, we didn't say nothing. Where is the truth? So there is like a kind of good evil and really bad evil. So with a good evil we can work, and with a bad evil not at all. It's no speech with him.
It's you use the word. You utter the word. You said it. It's cynicism. It's cynicism. It's a realpolitik, and the realpolitik is cynical by definition.
In a lot of journalists, in European journalists, they use like a kind of neologism, like neo-Ottomanism. But I want to understand with you, more of a journalistic construct, or that a real strategy? And what does the myth of the Ottoman Empire represent today in the current narrative in Turkey?
There's an English expression that I like very much. It's two for tango. You need to be two persons to dance tango, okay? Of course, in Turkey, there are some mavericks and who are dreaming of revitalizing the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
And they, for instance, when they go to Libya, And they say, I mean, this is a former Ottoman territory. I mean, Italians could have said the same, because they said this is a former Italian
Yes,
territory.
and even we
And
won also against the Ottoman Empire.
exactly. So exactly after the Ottomans, anyhow. But so they have all sorts of pretensions, and they like to talk that way and present themselves as the former rulers of all these, Mesopotamia, northern Africa,
Yes.
the
Of the part of
the Arab
Syria.
Peninsula, of course, all these,
Yes.
Caucasus, South Caucasus. Okay, fine. I mean, but this is what the Turks say. I mean, some Turks, of course,
Okay.
not
Yes.
all. Okay, but what about the others? Are they ready for this kind of sponsorship or ownership of Ankara vis-a-vis their country?
This is
Nothing.
is
Zero.
interesting here. So
Nothing. They don't. Some Arab countries hate Turks. They
yes.
simply hate. But for instance, Syrians, they don't like Turks at all. Iraqis either. So it's a pipe dream, and as you say, this ill-informed journalists use this kind of formula. It's as they say themselves. It's sexy. It's a sexy word.
Okay.
It's neo-Ottomanism, and it's really empty.
During the podcast, I'm working a lot recently about the stereotypes and the prejudice between Europe and Turkey. And we as Europeans, I don't want to say that we are ignorant. That's not true. But we are like blocked in a kind of way to see the Turkey, or in a different ways. And in particular, I wanted to say that a lot of Europeans, even Italians, and not just Italians from the south, but they perceived Turkey as a backward country tied to tribal traditional, especially when referred to Central Anatolia, because yes, maybe they went to Istanbul or Izmir or Antalya to make holidays, but when they speak about Turkey, they consider like Anatolia like something kind of tribal country, but without considering the social and historical complexity of the country. For me, it's important to understand in particular that what is happening now during the last months between the arrest of the ex-major of Istanbul, Imamoglu. I see this is a kind of key of reading that I would like to share with you, and I want to understand if is it in the right direction or not. If is it now the country fractured between an urban, secularized, and Western-oriented generation. I mean like Gen Z, that I think you called in your essay the Turkish Malaise Turkiyeli. And so there is like a block of this kind of generation and another more traditional, conservative, and loyal to an authoritarianism.
The Turkish politics is an eternal pendulum. It's
Yes.
a pendulum, and it unfortunately this pendulum goes in between, as we say in Turkish, between the mosque and the military barrack.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So either a harsh, very securitarian, and violent, of course, politics run by Kemalists and the nationalists, etc. And the other end of the pendulum is this political Islam, or represented by the mosque, and so it goes in between. There is no third way in Turkey, unfortunately. Okay. So what we are seeing today, is the political Islam started well.
Yes.
They were very much involved in the EU preparatory work, as you know, and then they gave up, and everything has fallen apart. And unfortunately, they slowly shifted toward a very authoritarian way of governance. Turkey today is a totalitarian country. It's authoritarian is the right qualification, in my opinion. Anyhow, it's a non-democratic country. Let's put it that
Yes.
way. So it's a non-democratic country. So which is the alternative? What the society and the opposition and the politicians are offering to Turks who are not happy with what is happening today?
Yes.
Well, a very harsh, again, nationalist, old style, very secular, laïc way of life. And vis-a-vis the neighbors, very nationalist and aggressive Turkey. And as regarding Europe, they have no idea even regarding Europe. But towards Greece, Cyprus, Armenia, etc., very, I'm talking about the opposition. And these youngsters who are in the streets, who are protesting and demonstrating against the government. I mean, what they propose to the country is actually a return to the 1950s, 60s that we have already experimented. I mean, unfortunately, Turkey never managed and didn't manage to produce a third way, something else. And that was possible with the EU process, but as I said, the EU process, EU membership process has failed, and Turkey is stuck today between the political Islam that has become a non-democratic way of ruling the country, and in the opposition. I mean, not very democratic either. But they want to change everything to come to power, and they pretend that everything will be all right when they will come to power. Of course, things don't go that way.
No, totally.
And in my opinion, and I have written extensively about this, I don't think that this government will leave by losing any election. If they feel that they may lose the elections, they would even cancel the elections
and use the power, the violence.
So this is a no. I mean, so no hope, frankly, for the political alternative in Turkey. Now, with all these new deals that are shaping in Europe and economic and strategic interest of Turkey.
Yes.
Giorgio Meloni is the perfect example of it. Now, this government, this regime, actually, it's not a government, it's a regime. This regime is there to stay.
A very interesting article that I will share with all the followers that you wrote 2 years ago, Illiberal Polity as the Retribution of Post-Imperial Nation Building. You discuss how the absence of the accountability of ethno-religious cleansing has cultivated political culture of impunity. Why does Turkish nationalism fear self-criticism so deeply? What prevents the emergence of truly inclusive republic to recognize Turks, Armenians, Greeks, and Kurds as equal citizens without perceiving it as a threat to Turkish identity?
Unfortunately, the Turkish, we should understand that the Turkish nation has been invented, out of almost nothing.
Yes.
And the very foundation of this nation was Islam. And the Sunni Islam, actually, not
like
even
a social
Alevi
glue,
Islam.
right?
Exactly. The cement, the basis, the foundation of the Turkish nation is Sunni Islam. So this Sunni Islam, as the main dynamic, couldn't, by definition, accept the presence of non-Muslims within the corpus of this new nation. This is why the non-Muslims have been completely eradicated, annihilated by different means, genocide, pogroms, exchange of population on the basis of the religion, by the way,
Yes.
with Greece, the Orthodox left for Greece and Muslims left for Turkey. So this is the foundation. But then this process was so harsh, so violent, that out of 16 million inhabitants in those years, 3 million disappeared. So that is what I call it a founding evil, and of course it's exactly like the Holocaust, the crime was so big that never the Turkish authorities of the new republic and the population, who was actively, particularly the Kurds, involved in killing and in mass killing their Armenian neighbors. No one wanted to accept the responsibility of it for a variety of reasons. One, because they have spoiled their belongings, they have taken everything, they have taken their land, their houses, even their animals, and even their wives and their female children. So this is a major sin, that it's not easy to talk about. And if you start to talk about and to remember, to recall all these atrocities, then you put in danger the very foundation of your nation. So it's a total dilemma. It's a total paradox. And this is what I qualify as the real Turkish Malaise. Such a society, you pronounce the formula, who managed to, to forget, to accept, to digest, 3 million non-Muslim, disappearance of 3 million non-Muslims, can digest, accept, and disregard any other, wrongdoing or illegal act by the present or the past, politicians. So what is the weight of what Erdogan and his family is stealing? Billions.
From
They are stealing
2016.
billions. Yeah, they are stealing billions since the 2 decades. So what is the weight of this?
I don't understand why from the society don't growing up.
When you compare, the corruption of the politicians today with what happened 100 years ago with the killing of 3 million citizens of the neighbors of the country, it's nothing. It's what they're. So the society has developed a kind of natural tendency to disregard actually the rule of law and the sense of justice. So and this is why I call it a sick society, which will never, reach a point where democracy, and which means by definition the equivalence between different citizens, will take hold in this country.
This is the topic, of course, because reading even the article of Hasan Jamal, he said that in Turkey you're growing up with this idea of the genocide was like something. A cause of the war, a result of the war. It's not just something studied, planified, and acted. It's something like, yes, it's happened. It was the war. It was a complicated situation, and it's happened. No, and this is topic that I don't understand from the whole society of Turkey, that or they are scared about this word, and they don't want to talk about it at all. Like it's like exactly a taboo. Or there is a kind of Turkish that say exactly like this. No, they are totally submerged of the ideology of the Kemalism, and they said, no, we need to buy our country, and so we needed to do something. It was necessary to buy to build our country. So I don't understand why from the society don't push up these things to say, okay, it's happened. It will be like a kind of trauma that will continue forever, endless trauma.
I will give you I will underline 2 points, and I will
Thank you.
explain through 2 points. One is that, I mean, this excuse of the survival of a nation. I mean, that nation didn't exist anyhow in 1914. They had to create one. But I mean, the danger of this, disappearance of Turks or Muslims, etc., because of the war, etc. This is a childish excuse which is in the mouth of many people in Turkey. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, the ethno-religious cleansing and the mass violence and mass killings against the Armenians have started in 1894.
Yes.
So there was no war at the time.
No, not at all.
So this started one. Two, the second point is that after the genocide, many Armenians left the country, managed to survive, and went mainly to Syria and Iraq. And in 1922, right before the creation of the Turkish Republic, a group of elderly Armenians came to meet with Mustafa Kemal.
Yes.
And their request was very simple. They were asking Mustafa Kemal, I mean, they knew that he would be the new ruler of Turkey, and that there would be the Ottoman Empire won't be anymore, and the Republic of Turkey starting with a new start, etc. They said very simply, we are ready to forget what you have done, but let us come back. We would like to come back to our lands, to our towns, to our villages, etc. And Mustafa Kemal said no. So this tells you the depth and of the ideology, and because non-Muslims were seen as a danger to the homogeneity of the Turkish nation. Today, Turkey is in the whole region, including Iran, but in terms of religion, is the most homogeneous country in the region. Turkey is Muslim at 99.9%.
Here's one thing that I want to ask you again, Professor. Taner Akçam, in his The Turkish National Identity and the Armenian Question, edited in 1992, if I'm not wrong, said that in Turkish language, there is a distinction between Katliam, massacre, that generally is understood as a localized or regional violence, and soykırım, genocide, which implies systematic and total destruction, of course. Do you think that even from this, Turkey have to start to change his vocabulary, his communication?
It won't happen. Of course, it's a clear genocide. I mean, exactly like what is happening in Gaza. They wanted in 1915. The decision was to completely wipe out, clean, get rid of the Armenian element of the Ottoman Empire. And they managed, actually. It's a success, kind of, they managed.
Yes.
Today, there are 50 to 60,000 Armenians who live all in Istanbul, and they disappeared. I mean, some people argue that there are some Armenians who converted and who became Muslim and then Turkish or Kurdish, but who still remain in Eastern Anatolia, etc. Maybe, but culturally, they are no more. They don't have any school in Anatolia. They don't have any church, and they don't speak even Armenian. So culturally, it's a genuine genocide. They disappear. Same goes for for the Greeks of the Pontus, of
Yes.
the Black Sea Greeks is the same. They culturally they don't exist anymore. This is the reality of Turkey, and this is what the Turkish national narrative, Turkish official narrative rejects. You know, but this rejection, as I said a few minutes ago, poisons the society, poisons the entire country, because there is no respect for the rule of law. People despise the rule of law, and I mean they tend to say in between the lines. I mean, our grandparents have killed or cleansed 3 million people, so we can start it again. And some people say this. They say we can do it again if you
Put us in the conditions.
Yes, I mean, if the conditions are there, I mean, we can do it again. So this is, and this kind of society is sick. Is Israeli society today is like this. I mean, the Israeli society is a sick society. And they will never recover from that. Israel will never recover from that, nor the Western Europeans who are supporting Israel.
Professor Akhtar, thank you for your time. We have a lot of now point of discussion. I'm pretty sure that the followers will appreciate that. Thank you again.
Grazie. Thank you.